Hello and welcome back to Conan Exiles, and this is going to be a quick run through of a developer update that took place this evening on the 8th of November. And yeah, the guys here, Dennis Duthet and Andy Bendit, we're just going through the second chapter of the Age of Sorcery. We've already got chapter 1 of the Age of Sorcery. There's chapter 2, which is coming out on the 6th of December. And then at some point after that, we will have a chapter 3. And what they're trying to do is stick to a 90-day development cycle. So we had chapter 1, 90 days after that, chapter 2, and then 90 days after that, chapter 3. And these 3 chapters essentially tell us the story about how magic gets reintroduced to the Exiled Lands. Because up till now, apparently, wearing a bracelet meant that you couldn't do sorcery. They didn't explain why you can do sorcery now, but that was the reason there was no sorcery before. Someone's obviously found a loophole in the bracelet instructions. So one of the main features of chapter 2 are going to be these Headhunter camps, and there's going to be quite a few of them spread around the map. And the idea is that you, the character, go out and capture sorcerers, and then you drag them back here. You either bring their skulls, or you knock out the sorcerer and drag them back here. And then you get rewards, and you can either get some sort of fairly low level rewards like gold coins and silver coins, etc., or you can get paid in special coins called ancient obolos. That's O-B-O-L-O-S, because when they were saying obolos, I thought originally they were saying obelisk, which confused me somewhat. So the guy you can see standing in front of you is wearing one of the new armour sets in chapter 2, and this Headhunter camp is situated just outside the den. Now, they didn't say how many Headhunter camps there'd be, but I got the impression there'd be, I don't know, about 10 or something like that. But there's some quite fun lore associated with these camps, and it's all to do with a guy called Mek-kamoses. Now, you might have come across Mek-kamoses before, because in the game he's the guy you can go to learn the Set religion. Now, we've not visited him in this playthrough, but I'll just show you where he lives on this map. He lives just here in the hills below the savannah, and what he does when you visit him is that he teaches you the Set religion, but he also has a bit of a moan about his old compadre, another sorcerer called Thothamon. And Thothamon had wanted to be like the apprentice of Mek-kamoses, but Mek-kamoses booted him out, and Thothamon eventually found his way to the unnamed city, where he found an ancient artifact called the Ring of Set. And this gave him tremendous power, and he used that to revitalise the bracelets, and essentially recreated the Exiled Lands as like a giant prison. It's quite a complicated story as to why he wanted to do that, but I did make a lore video sort of explaining the details. Anyhow, once Thoth had made the Exiled Lands as this giant prison, he went and found a Mek-kamoses and chucked him inside it. So the ongoing story is that Kurak, who was the original sorcerer, whose tome we found in chapter 1, he has reintroduced magic into the Exiled Lands, and his minions have gone out into all the various encampments and have been teaching magic to the other exiles. So, we find sorcerers embedded in all the larger NPC camps. And Mek-kamoses is very, very keen on discovering their secret, so he can learn them and then escape from the Exiled Lands himself. So he's basically fallen in with this bunch of Khitan exiles, the ones who've set up these Headhunter camps, and he's paying a bounty for you to bring him sorcerers, either their skulls or persons as captured thralls. And there's 2 types of sorcerer. I mean, there's the sorcerers we know already, but then there's these really sort of quite powerful ones who are like the lieutenants of Kurak, and they're a new introduction to the game, and we'll see some of them in a little bit. But if you can take down one of these more powerful sorcerers, then you get far more rewards for bringing them in. But we'll look at some of the rewards in a minute. So here's our guy running around this camp, and there's various Khitan people knocking around the place. So there are slavers, there are captains, and there are traders. So once you've picked up your reward for turning in a sorcerer, you can go to a trader and buy stuff like weapons. So this giant pot, this altar, is something you find in all these camps. And this is where you place a sorcerer's skull to get immediate rewards. And these immediate rewards aren't brilliant. They're quite useful. They're like gold coins and silver coins, or alchemical base and demon blood. But the really nice rewards you have to buy with these ancient obolos coins. So here's one of these new, very powerful sorcerers I was talking about. And this guy in the flat hat is wearing one of the new armour sets that you can get in the game. And the idea is that while the sorcerers are fairly weak themselves, they're actually surrounded by minions and underlings who are quite powerful. So you have to kill all them, then break through this barrier surrounding the sorcerer, and either capture them, knock them out, or kill them and steal their skull. And I get the impression there's, I don't know, half a dozen to a dozen scattered around the map. Here's a close-up of our friend, and he's wearing another one of the new armour sets you can get. And this is the Mad Prophet armour. So I think there's 5 new sets. We'll have a closer look at them later on. We also had a few updates about the Battle Pass. Not really that much to say. A lot of the stuff we saw in this update, the devs weren't quite sure whether the new armour sets or some of the decorative stuff you can get. They weren't really sure whether we'd be getting that as part of the Battle Pass or whether it would be in the Bazaar. So I don't think they've really made up their minds yet about some of it. But they did say they'd be adding a countdown counter so you can see how many more days you've got left before the Battle Pass runs out, which is quite useful. I'm surprised they haven't got one of those already, but there you go. Here are some more Headhunter camps, and these are all on the Isle of Sipta. They look very nice indeed, very scenic. Again, we've got our friend here walking around in the Khitan armour. And this guy is now showing us how you add skulls to the altar. I mean, they're shooting by quite quickly, but you get gold coins, silver coins, ancient obelisks, alchemical base, steel fire and demon blood. And like I said earlier, you get more rewards for bringing either the head or the living body of one of these new very powerful sorcerers down here. Here's another change to the Battle Pass that we're quite pleased with. Now you can actually see emotes in action. So it's quite clever in that whatever armour you're wearing is worn by the figure on the screen, and they will act out the emotes so you can see what you're getting. I mean, it's a nice to have, I don't think it's that important. But you can also turn armour sets all the way around. So for example, here's the Guernica armour, and you can turn them all the way around so you get a back view essentially. They did tell us a little bit about the Bazaar, and they've been seeing what people have been buying and what they haven't been buying, and there will be an adjustment to prices in the Bazaar, but what that means is anyone's guess. They were a bit cagey about that. Here's another very interesting addition to the game. This is a maze set. So you've got these hedges that you can place. These are placeable items, they don't snap to anything. And you can make a maze like they've done here, or just have a nice circular hedge or something like that. And in the middle they're showing off some of the new things you can get in the game. Again, I'm not sure whether this is Battle Pass stuff or stuff from the Bazaar, but aside from all the ornaments, we now have cats in the game. And some cats you will be buying, and some cats will come in the Battle Pass. Yet another addition is an extension to the Stormglass building set, and they've sort of added these cathedral elements as they describe them, which look very impressive, I must say. I think that looks incredible, really. That looks really nice. So a huge expansion to the building pieces available for Stormglass, and there's also lots of extra ornaments that you can add inside. Nice little Stormglass mirror there. And you've got these enchanted paintings. The idea is that the closer you get, the more corrupted the figure appears. So they appear normal from a distance, but once you get closer you can see what they're really like. So it's a bit like the portrait of Dorian Gray, I suppose. Here's another charming ornament, a poor prisoner in his little cage there. Looking most alarmed. And why wouldn't you be? And there's also ivy you can get. You can have ivy creeping up the sides of buildings, which looks really nice. There's also new dogs in the game, and you have these new kennel sets. Here's another assortment of stuff. The people dancing around the fire are meant to be wearing Pictish gear of some description, but I think they look more like Defaris to me, but they said Pictish, so we'll believe them. And here's the 5 armour sets, and I think this is all you get. We'll look at some of them in a bit more detail later on, but we've met the guy in the middle, wearing the Mad Prophet outfit. So this is the concept art for the Khitan armour. And we've already seen this armour set from the rear without that guy wandering around with that very distinctive Chinese style hat. Yeah, I think in the game the Khitan are almost like proto-Chinese or something like that. And this is the artwork for another armour set, and this is the Necromancer themed armour. So when we saw them in a line, this was the one second from the left. Here's a close-up of the cat. This is a hairless one. I don't think the cats we saw before were hairless. I think they just had very short fur. But there are going to be completely free hairless cats in the game. You can wander around and you will find hairless cats in the wild. So you get little hairless kittens that you can grow into hairless cats. And there's like 3 different types, 3 different colours. And they look very impressive, I must say. I'm not sure I particularly like the idea of hairless cats, or even partially mummified ones by the looks of this one, but they're certainly striking, you can say that about them. Here's our armours again. Again, whether you have to buy them or their battle pass rewards, I'm not sure. And the devs didn't seem to know either. So this is the armour you saw second from the right in that lineup. And this is the armour for the Acheronian illusionist. And the helmet is based on like a fox face apparently. And it's 2-sided, so you've got a fox face facing forward and another one facing behind, which is quite an interesting look. And here's a glimpse of an ancient obelisk, and there was some confusion in the chat when this stream was going on about the difference between an obelisk and a crom coin. At the end of a chapter, all the obelisk coins are taken away essentially. Your obelisk count is taken to 0, so spend them while you've got them essentially, but they have absolutely no connection whatsoever to the crom coins. So that's about it. There are a few additional bits and pieces. So for example, a lot of the pets are considered too strong in the game. So most of the pets are getting nerfed, but gorillas and scorpions, which had been quite weak, are actually getting boosted a little bit. So that's good news or bad, depending on your point of view. Another thing they mentioned was that there's no intention of introducing new spells into either this chapter or the next chapter, chapter 3. But potentially in the next age, they might have new spells in that. Though the next age isn't going to be sorcery themed, but it's one of the things they might add to it anyway. They also said to expect more lore in each of the chapters. So in chapter 1, the arrival of Kurak wasn't really given any fanfare. It was like an event that happened in the background. In chapter 2, all this business with Mek-kamoses, working with the Khitans to capture sorcerers, this is going to be much more in your face. And then in chapter 3, apparently things go quite crazy. We've been warned to expect some quite dramatic events in chapter 3. And there is likely to be almost a resolution of the Thothamon story. So I think we will be meeting Thothamon at some point, which would be quite fun because within the game there's a journey step called Defeat the Mummy of the Ring. And there is no Mummy of the Ring at the moment. So up to now it's been impossible to do all the journey steps for Conan Exiles. I think the idea is that the Mummy of the Ring is something that's generated by the Ring of Set, which is the ancient artifact that Thothamon found in the Unnamed City. So I'm guessing your character will at some point meet Thothamon, they'll use the ring to summon the mummy, then you have to defeat them. So that should tie up a nice loose end, hopefully. But that's my speculation. Very intriguingly, they did drop a hint, a very faint hint, about new dungeons. Though they did say if new dungeons were going to be introduced, it would be at the start of an age. So we shouldn't expect anything until the next age comes along, and even then, they might not be able to do it. But they did confirm that there's a lot of free real estate on the map. If you look at the map of Conan Exiles, there's a big empty patch, like in the northeast corner. And the story I'd heard was that there were dungeons in this area, specifically a lot of dungeons related to the volcano, and that meant that the northeast corner couldn't be utilised. But apparently there aren't any dungeons there, and that area could very easily be an extension to the map. And the only thing really holding them back is like memory management or something. I mean, I didn't really understand that part, but the takeaway message is that, yeah, the area east of the volcano could be developed in future to create a new biome. But that was about it. But there was a lot going on, and I think it all looks quite interesting and exciting. So I hope you found that of interest. Hope to see you for the next episode. And until I do see you again, I shall say goodbye. Okay then, cheerio.